Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster3, and yeah, I'm finally back with a new video. And today's video is going to be the top 10 favorite horror movies from the year 2003. So obviously this is just my personal opinion, so yeah, if I missed out on any movies that you think should be on the list, my apologies, I probably haven't seen it, or I'm not a very big fan of it. So yeah, let's begin right away with number 10 for 2003. So number 10 horror movie from 2003, according to me, is the movie called Monster Man, which I think is very underrated. It's a weird slasher film which has like a killer in a monster truck in it, which I thought was quite fascinating. It reminded me a little bit of the movie called Rolling Vengeance from the 80s, which is not really necessarily a horror movie, it's more of a vengeance film or like a revenge film. This one is straightforward horror film. It's basically about um, these two losers. I don't want to call them losers, but they're like kind of stupid. But they go on this like road trip and they get into all types of like trouble and whatnot. And then they befriend this girl who's pretty much like left in the middle of nowhere. And then this crazy guy in a monster truck decides to follow them. So it's sort of like a road movie and a horror movie mixed together, which I thought was quite interesting and cool. Obviously, we've seen those type of films from time to time over and over again, but I mean, this one really works because I don't really think I've ever seen a horror movie where a guy drives a monster truck. So, really nice blood and gore effects as well. Really great humor. I mean, when it comes to some of these early 2000s like horror comedies, they can be hit or miss, but this one really worked for me at least. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything else in that, but there's some twists and turns towards the end as well, which I didn't see coming, which was quite refreshing because sometimes it's really you kind of know from the get go what the twist is going to be all about. But I did like the twist, and it really caught me off guard. And yeah, Monster Man from 2003, obviously, but on number 10 spot right there, very underrated. I barely even hear anyone talk about that one. And then on number 9 we have, I mean, I don't care what other people say. I think was this like a made for TV movie or something? I don't really know, but this is the third one in the trilogy, and it is the movie called Beyond Reanimator, which came out, yeah, obviously so much later before, like after the second one, Bride of Reanimator. I would still say that both the original one and Bride of Reanimator is better than this, but I think this one gets a lot of crap, which I don't really think it deserves. Obviously, like I said, it's not as good as the previous two. But once again, you have the amazing Jeffrey Combs as Dr. Herbert West. What's his name? Not Herbert. What is his name? Dr. West, whatever. Yeah, I just completely blacked on the character's name, but you get what I mean. This takes place like inside of this prison, which I thought was quite a unique take on the whole thing. Because before he was like sort of like in these labs and some whatnot, so at least they tried something different with this one. Um, yeah, really nice blood and gore effects, like usual when it comes to some of these films. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that some of these people, or like some of these films, still stick with practical effects because, especially like in the early 2000s to the mid 2000s, that's really where this started to become more of the CGI type of things in general, which I'm not really a big fan of at all. Obviously, there's always some things that you can't make practical, but I mean, stick with practical as much as possible. That's what I usually say when it comes to some of these like horror films, especially. So, yeah, Beyond Reanimator. If you haven't seen this one, even if you're a fan of the previous two, give this one a watch. But be aware this is obviously the weakest one. But I still say it's a very underrated film, and it deserves more praise, I would say. So yeah, Beyond Reanimator. Um, then let's see here. At number 8, we have a remake actually, which I think is really good. Not as good as the first one, but still pretty good one. And it is the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at number 8 right here. This one I remember I really liked because of the atmosphere and the tension. I don't really like the weird editing from time to time. It can be a little bit choppy or whatever. I do obviously still prefer the original one because of that gritty grindhouse type of vibe to it, which obviously not really many other like movies in today's world can like compete with. You can't really have that type of atmosphere which they had in the 70s, 80s, and whatnot. But this one's still a good film, and it's sort of like a weird, also like a place on the fact that this is like based on a true guy, whatever, which is it is false, but it's still sort of a truth as well, because it's obviously taking inspiration from Ed Gein and whatnot. But the main guy, Leatherface, has never existed before. But I thought it was quite fascinating that they tried to play it out like this is this like a real guy that's out there somewhere. I thought that was quite interesting. The acting is so from time to time, but for the most part, pretty good. And yeah, I mean, I don't really like the guy playing Leatherface. He comes across like a little bit of a, I mean, I've read a little bit about him and had that fact that he didn't treat, but he said some really stupid things about Gunnar Hansen, who portrayed the original Leatherface, which I'm not really gonna go into that discussion and whatnot. But other than that, though, I mean, that's just us back behind the scenes type of thing. But anyway, this movie is really good, and I really like Arlie Ermy in this one as well. Is this the one with Arlie Ermy, or am I just completely blacking out on this one, because it was quite a while since I saw this one? Yeah, Arlie Ermy, of course. Does an amazing job in this. He comes across like really sinister in this one. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake, really great. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it, but I mean, not as good as the first one, but still a pretty darn good remake. So yeah. And then okay, let's see here. At number 7, we have a movie which I do have in the collection somewhere, which really makes me remind myself that I really need to go through the entire collection to just restructure the whole thing, because sometimes when you just buy films, you kind of just shuck them in whatever they, whenever you have the room for it. So I do know for a fact I have it somewhere in the collection, but I just don't know where. But at number 7, we have A Tale of Two Sisters, a South Korean horror film, which I would say is really great because of the chemistry between these two sisters. They kind of like have been apart from each other for quite some time, and then they reunite and they discover all creepy secrets about their family and whatnot. Fantastic atmosphere altogether, and really great acting as well. Um, this one did get a remake a couple of years later, like in 2009, which was just called like The Uninvited or something, which was just very bland. Not a terrible film, but not as good as the original one. And I think the remake was also PG-13, and I never really understood the fact why would I even make it PG-13 from the get-go. Of course, I know for a fact that I want to like lure in more like younger people to watch the film, but why do that when the original film is pretty much like rated R? That's what I used to assume. But Tale of Two Sisters, nonetheless, if you haven't seen this one, it's a really atmospheric film, and it's more played on character development more so than like straightforward like blood or gore effects or anything like that you like usually see in some of these films. So yeah, great film altogether. A Tale of Two Sisters at number 7. And then we continue with the Asian stuff right here, shall we? At number 6, we have Ju-on The Grudge 2. I did talk a little bit about the previous one in the last video. This one is not as good as that one. I think this storyline is a little bit more muddled than the previous one, but that doesn't say that I still really like this film. And I just feel like I'm a broken record at this point, because it has great atmosphere, has great music to it. Love the end credit sequence. That's the one thing that I always find fascinating with some of these like Japanese films. They can be really scary or really like horrific, the things you watch, and then towards the end credits is like a really like soothing, like really like harmonic type of like song, which I thought was just really cool. But as for the film itself, I mean, interesting storyline, even though I think the storyline could be better. Acting is good. The atmosphere is great as well. I'm not sure if I said that. I think I probably always said this already, but if you have seen the previous ones and you haven't seen this one, go give it a watch. But like I said before, not as good as the first one. The first one, I mean, like the original film, not the made-for-TV films, but yeah, you get what I mean. Yeah, still a good one. The Ju-on The Grudge 2 right here, so yeah. That reminds me, I actually don't have Ju-on Black Ghost and White Ghost or whatever they were called. I think they were quite recently released like in a box set along with like all of the other ones. I think it was Arrow that released it. I'm kind of tempted to like get a hold of that box set, but at the same time it just feels like I'm throwing like the money in the river right there, because I already have the rest of the films, so why would I sacrifice that type of money just to get those 2 films? I'm not sure if they were really worth it. So but anyway, that's it. Ju-on The Grudge at number 6. And at number 5, we have another Japanese film. This is actually like a double pack thing, or like the dual project, which is called. But the movie I'm referring to is the movie called 2LDK right here. Which this is a very interesting project, because I think 2 directors were sort of like doing like this competition, not the competition thing, but they kind of like made like this deal where they tried to like make a movie with a very low budget and make it as good as possible, and they didn't really have that long runtime or anything like that either, like not very much like time or money to invest in the film. But I think 2LDK is the better of these two. I have seen Aragami before. Aragami, I wouldn't even say is like a horror film. 2LDK has more horror elements to it. It's basically what these two actresses, they're sort of like competing with one another. They don't really realize it at first, but they're like auditioning for the same film. And when they realize they're auditioning for the same film, there's some like conflicts between these people, and they just get absolutely crazy. Like they really want the role that desperate. So they just go berserk and attack each other, and it just gets crazier and crazier the longer into the film you get. Most of the film takes place like inside of this apartment basically, and that's pretty much like the entire location of this entire film, which sounds a little bit weird, but I think the craziness, the acting, and the fact that you don't really know what's going to happen next is what really makes this great, in my personal opinion. So I don't really think a lot of people talk about this one in general, but I think more people should give it a watch. But yeah, 2LDK, awesome film, really cool, really fun. So I say fun, it's weird to say, but I mean really fun, entertaining, like action horror type film. So yeah. So let's see here. Then at number 4, we have the movie by good old Rob Zombie himself, the movie called House of a Thousand Corpses. This is one of these rare scenarios where you kind of like root for the killers, even though they're horrible and despicable people. I think the acting and the character development for some of these characters is really, really great. I don't care too much for like the main characters, like the so-called victims, so to say. But I mean, you have Sherry Moon Zombie does an amazing job in this one. You have Bill Moseley, who I've had the pleasure to meet on a sci-fi convention at one point. He's a really nice dude as well. And Sid Haig is what really steals this show, in my personal opinion. He's an amazing actor, and he's great as Captain Spaulding, the creepy clown. Um, and some of the dialogue in this one is just very silly, but at the same time, I mean, they're so stupid to the point you just can't help but laugh at them. There's like one sequence in particular. I mean, this is not really any big spoiler or anything like that, but there's like one scene where Bill Moseley's character Otis has captured like this lady, and he's like tied her up or whatever, and she's like really scared and whatnot. She can't really shut up, and then he screams like "shut up," and then he has like this stupid dialogue when he says like, listen, you Malibu middle class Barbie piece of shit. I'm trying to work here. I'm like, who even says that? I think that was just really fun. But yeah, this one is great. I would still say that I prefer what's it called, the Devil's Rejects over this one. But this one has a really great grindhouse style to it, which I think really works for the film. I mean, it almost feels like it was made in the 70s, to be fair, which I think they were able to capture that atmosphere perfectly in this one. Brutal, entertaining, funny. Yeah, it has all these type of bits in it. So yeah, House of a Thousand Corpses at number 4. Right. Yeah. And then we have number 3. We have this really goes hand in hand really with the Resident Evil films, I would say. Some of these sequences, I mean, not sequences, some of these films in this series is a little bit hit or miss, but the first one and the second one, I think, there is really great movies altogether. And yeah, at number 3, we have the very first Underworld film right here with Kate Beckinsale. Fantastic vampire film. I mean, this is just really like the vampire version of Resident Evil. It's weird to say because in this one you have vampires, and Resident Evil you have like these. Wait a minute. When now we come face, are they even zombies in Resident Evil, or are they actually infected? I don't really remember. But this one altogether is a great vampire film, and yeah, I'm lost for words. Really, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, the only complaints I have about this particular film is that it's a little bit too long for its own good. But other than that, it's great. I like the characters; they are really memorable and creepy. And there's like this conflict between these vampires and like these werewolves and whatnot. Um, and it's actually done really great as well. It's not really like anything that looks like, it's not something that is like really silly and really stupid. At least they have like some really great blood and gore effects from time to time as well. So yeah, Underworld, I really appreciate this one, and that's one thing that I really like about some of these films, when they have like the perfect blend of action and horror. I really like that aspect for some of these like early 2000s horror movies altogether. So yeah. And then I can already see some people complaining that I probably put this on number 2, but I love this film. I know it's silly, I know it's stupid from time to time, but I've always loved this film and I always will. And it is the movie at number 2. We have Freddy versus Jason. Um, yeah, I mean, this is really feels more like a weird. It feels more like an Elm Street film than a Friday the 13th film, because obviously, I mean, Jason doesn't talk, and you have like Robert Englund is just like really having these really funny like lines of dialogue from time to time. Um, I mean, I know some people just don't really like this one because of the other characters that they kind of like. They don't really like Monica Kino or Kelly Rowland very much in this one. I totally get that, but I think they're meant to be sort of like silly and stupid from time to time. So yeah, and you also have, I mean, Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund, does an amazing job in this one, and I read somewhere that they were scheduled to have Kane Hodder in this film originally, but they thought he wasn't tall enough, so they decided to get hold of this other guy. I can't remember the name of this guy. Kursinger. I can't remember his name, but he was also in Friday the 13th Part 8, where he gets thrown into like some mirror or something in Manhattan or whatever. But this one, great humor, great blood and gore effects. I really like the ending fight or whatever between these two characters, and yeah, I always thought the ending was very fascinating and really great as well, because it doesn't really necessarily say, oh, did who did really win. I mean, that's a never-ending discussion. Did Freddy win? Did Jason win? You never really know. So that was really good as well. But yeah, Freddy versus Jason. If you're a fan of Friday the 13th or any of the Elm Street films, I mean, in general, give this one a watch. It is silly, I know, but it's very entertaining, and it's, yeah, those two characters together is just great. And at number one, we have the movie backwoods hillbilly horror film called Wrong Turn. And I've always said this, that this is my favorite one in the series. Uh, but at the same time, I haven't seen part 5 or 6 yet, so I'm gonna see if I enjoy those or not. But part 2 was actually pretty good as well. Part 3 wasn't very good, and part 4 I just didn't really care for at all. I don't really understand why these films are just so loved by people. I mean, they're decent films. I mean, some of them, but I mean, I just don't understand the whole hype. Like, oh, I gotta get the Wrong Turn movies, whatever. The first one, I mean, you don't really need to see any of the other ones. To be fair, I mean, I would say the first one is good. The second one is, like I said, decent. Third one is where it really goes off the rails, and I remember I watched the third one and the fourth one, and when I realized that the same guy who made part 3 and part 4 was gonna make part 5, that's where I really like, well, I'm giving up on this franchise. But I still ended up getting a hold of part 5 and 6 as well, so I might as well give those two a watch eventually. So who knows, maybe I'll make a ranking video of these movies as well, or some sort of like overview video, whatever. But this one is great. I mean, it has almost like this The Hills Have Eyes type of vibe to it, but instead of like in the middle of the desert, you have it in the backwoods, like in the middle of like this forest area in the middle of nowhere. Um, yeah, I really like this one. I like the atmosphere. I like the locations. Like I usually say in some of my movies, some of my videos, I really like movies that takes place out in the middle of nowhere, like in the wooded areas, like in forests and whatnot. I have a soft spot for some of those movies, and this is one of these like survival type of movies that you just can't help but love, because that's another like thing that I really like, that when you have like these characters and you always have your favorites and you root for some of them, and so you some of them you just despise and you just want them to get killed off as soon as possible. I really like that atmosphere in general in those movies, especially those from the early 2000s or mid 2000s movies. Um, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, but I think this is one of the very last movies that um, what's his name? Stan Winston worked on, I believe, before he passed away. I think he only passed away like 2 or 3 years after this one. Um, and he is also obviously most famous for creating the amazing practical, or like the great effects on like the Terminator movies and some of the Alien films. And he also obviously directed the very first Pumpkinhead film as well. But Wrong Turn, nonetheless, is an amazing film. And yeah, I think this is very well known. I think most people have probably already seen this one by now, but go give this one a watch. Now, when I come think, I actually also did watch that weird. Was it a remake or a reboot or whatever you want to call it? I mean, not necessarily like a remake. It was more like a weird reboot, like, or like sort of like a standalone type of thing. I thought that one was decent enough, except for the ending. I just despised the ending to that film. But yeah, the original Wrong Turn. If you haven't seen it, go give it a watch. Yeah, don't know what else to say. So there you have it. That's the top 10 list for 2003. Not really sure what the next video is going to be about. Maybe the continuation of 2004, or I'm going to probably make a pretty big update video because I have lots of movies to show you, and I also need to show you the movies that I haven't showed you yet, so I can, after that, I can organize some of the collection and whatnot. So but anyway, hope you enjoy this particular video. Give it a thumbs up, leave a comment or two. Have you seen any of these movies? Please let me know in the comment section. If you would like to follow me on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel if you want to, if you don't want to miss out on any new like uploads or whatever. So yeah, hope everyone had a had a good day. I was about to say, but hope everyone is doing well, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.